The shuttle landed with a soft bump, and Park grabbed his bag from the overhead storage. He had traveled for 3 weeks to reach this place. Orbital Station 7 floated at the edge of known space, far from Earth, far from other humans, far from everything familiar. That was exactly what wanted. He was a maintenance engineer. He fixed things. Broken pipes, damaged wires, faulty air systems. He did not fix people, and he did not want people to fix him. His last posting had ended badly. Too many questions, too much concern, too many who wanted to know why he never smiled, why he ate alone, why he flinched when someone touched his shoulder without warning. Had requested a transfer to the most remote station available. Command had given him 7. The airlock opened and stepped into a wide corridor. The walls were painted in warm colors, orange and gold and deep red. Strange symbols decorated the doors. The air smelled different here, thick with an unfamiliar scent that reminded him of wet earth after rain. A tall figure waited at the end of the corridor. Stopped walking. He had read the briefing files, but reading was different from seeing. The stood nearly 2 meters tall, covered in silver-gray fur that shimmered under the station lights. 2 pointed ears rose from the top of its head, and large amber eyes studied with careful attention. The creature walked on 2 legs like a human, but its face was longer, more animal-like. It reminded of the dogs he had seen in old Earth videos, but taller, more intelligent, more aware. "You are the human engineer," the said. Its voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "Yes, Park. I am pack leader of this station." The tilted its head slightly, ears moving forward. "You are smaller than I expected." Did not know how to respond to that, so he said nothing. Made a low sound in its throat. It might have been a laugh. "Come, I will show you to your quarters." They walked through the station together. Noticed that the corridors curved gently, with no sharp corners. The lighting was softer than human stations, more yellow than white. Everywhere he looked, he saw signs of community. Shared spaces filled with cushions and blankets. Cooking areas with long tables meant for many people. Walls covered with pictures and drawings made by what looked like children's hands. Other watched them pass. Counted 12, maybe 15. Some were silver-like. Others had fur in shades of brown, black, copper, and gold. They all had the same intelligent amber eyes, and those eyes followed with open curiosity. One young, smaller than the others with dark brown fur, peeked out from behind a doorway. Her ears stood straight up, and her tail wagged slightly before she caught herself and disappeared back into the room. "That is," said, "she is young, curious about everything. Do not let her bother you." "She does not bother me," said quietly. His ears moved in a way could not read. "Your quarters are here." They stopped at a door on the outer ring of the station. Through the small window could see stars. The room inside was simple. A bed, a desk, a small bathroom. Clean and empty and far from the warm common areas they had passed. "This is acceptable?" asked. "This is perfect," said, and he meant it. Studied him for a long moment. Humans are strange. Most species want to be close to others. You want to be far away. "I do my job better when I am alone." "Perhaps." His tail moved slowly behind him. "The evening meal is in 4 hours. You are welcome to join us, or food can be brought to your room." "I will eat here, thank you." Nodded once and walked away. His claws clicked against the metal floor, the sound growing fainter until was alone with the silence and the stars. He unpacked his bag slowly. 3 sets of work clothes, 1 set of sleep clothes, a tablet loaded with repair manuals, a small photograph in a frame which he placed face down in a drawer without looking at it. That was everything. His entire life fit in 1 bag. Sat on the bed and looked out the window. The stars were very bright here, far from any planet or sun. He could see a distant nebula, pink and purple against the black. It was beautiful, but beauty had never been enough to fill the empty spaces inside him. His tablet beeped with a message. Work assignment for tomorrow. A problem with the water recycling system in Section 4. Good. Work was good. Work kept his hands busy and his mind quiet. A soft sound came from outside his door, turned his head. Through the small window he could see movement, brown fur, pointed ears. The young one was crouched in the corridor watching him. Their eyes met. Ears dropped flat against her head, and she scrambled away so fast that she bumped into the opposite wall, heard her claws scratching on the floor as she ran. He almost smiled, almost. The next weeks followed a simple pattern. Woke early he ate a quick breakfast from the supplies in his room. He worked until the station lights dimmed for evening. He returned to his quarters. He slept. He repeated. They left him alone mostly. They greeted him politely when they passed in the corridors. They thanked him when he fixed things. But they did not invite him to their meals, did not ask him to join their evening gatherings, did not try to pull him into their circle. Was grateful for this. Only did not follow the rules. She appeared everywhere. When crawled through maintenance tunnels, he would turn a corner and find her watching from a vent. When he worked on control panels, she sat nearby, pretending to read a tablet but actually staring at him over the top of it. When he walked to his quarters at night, he heard her soft footsteps following behind him, always stopping just before he reached his door. "Why do you watch me?" finally asked one day. Froze, she had been hiding behind a storage container not well. Her tail stuck out clearly on one side. "I am not watching," she said. Her voice was higher than the adult's lighter. "I am just walking in the same direction, many times. Every day for 3 weeks." His ears dropped. She stepped out from behind the container, her head lowered in what now understood was a sign of embarrassment. "Humans are interesting," she admitted. "You do not smell like us. You do not move like us. You eat strange foods and sleep too long, and you are always alone." She looked up at him with those large amber eyes. "Are you not lonely?" The question hit somewhere deep, in a place he had tried to wall off years ago. "No," he lied. Tilted her head, ears moving forward. "Your voice says one thing, your smell says another." "My smell?" "You smell sad," said simply. "Even when you smell sad." I wondered why. Did not know what to say. No one had ever seen through him so easily. No human had ever known just by being near him that the smile he sometimes wore was a mask. "I have work to do," he said, and he walked away. That night he found a small object outside his door, a piece of metal bent and shaped into a rough star. Someone had polished it until it shined. There was no note but knew who had left it. He placed the star on his desk, where he could see it from his bed. It was the first gift anyone had given him in a very long time. He still did not attend the evening meals. He still ate alone and slept alone and worked alone. But now, when followed him through the corridors, he walked a little slower. And sometimes, when she thought he was not looking, he saw her smile. The alarm screamed through the station at 3 in the morning. Was out of bed before his eyes fully opened. His hands found his clothes in the dark, and he was running down the corridor before the second alarm cycle began. Red emergency lights flashed on the walls. The air already tasted wrong, thin and sharp. Life support failure. He reached the main control room at the same time as. The pack leader's silver fur stood up along his spine, and his ears were flat against his skull. Others rushed in behind them, their voices high with fear. "What is happening?" demanded. A young engineer named worked frantically at a control panel. His copper-colored fur was dark with sweat. "The solar storm damaged the primary recyclers. Carbon dioxide levels are rising. We have maybe 6 hours before the air becomes dangerous." "Can you fix it?" "I do not know. The damage is in 3 different sections. The backup systems are not responding." Pushed past 2 larger and looked at the diagnostic screens. The information scrolled too fast for him to read everything, but he understood enough. This was bad, very bad. "Show me the damage locations," he said. Looked at him with surprise. They had been polite to, but they had not treated him as one of their own. Now, in this moment of crisis, doubt crossed face. "Human, this is technology. Perhaps you should." "Show me," repeated. His voice was calm and flat. "Now." Something in his tone made obey. The screen changed to show 3 red markers on the station map. Sections 4, 7, and 12. All of them far apart, all of them critical. "The main recycler is in Section 4, said. "If I can restore that one, we buy time for the others, but I need access to the maintenance tunnels." Stepped forward. "Those tunnels are too small for, we cannot follow you." "I know." The pack leader stared at him. Around them, they were talking in fast, frightened voices. Pups were crying somewhere in the distance. The air was already starting to feel heavy. "You would go alone?" asked. "Someone has to." His amber eyes searched his face. Whatever he found there made him nod slowly. "What do you need?" Made a list: tools, communication device, emergency oxygen mask, a map of the tunnel system. They brought everything quickly, their earlier doubts forgotten in the face of emergency. Appeared at the edge of the crowd, her brown fur messy from sleep, her eyes wide with fear. She called out, "Please be careful." He did not answer. He was already moving. The maintenance tunnels were dark and narrow. Crawled on his hands and knees, pulling his tool bag behind him. The metal walls pressed close on both sides. His oxygen mask made every breath sound loud in his ears. The first junction was blocked by fallen debris. Cleared it with his hands, cutting his palms on sharp edges. He ignored the blood and kept moving. "Report." His voice crackled through the communication device. "Halfway to Section 4. Heavy damage ahead. Carbon dioxide at 12%, rising. 12%, not deadly yet but getting close, moved faster." The main recycler was a mess. Wires hung loose from broken panels. A support beam had fallen across the primary filter. Water leaked from somewhere, making the floor slippery and dangerous. Studied the damage. Human engineers built things differently then. Human systems were modular, easy to replace piece by piece. Systems were connected, flowing into each other like a living thing. Breaking one part affected everything else. But connections could be rerouted. Flows could be redirected. He started working. The first hour was the hardest. He had to understand how the technology thought before he could fix it. He traced wires with his fingers, followed pipes through the walls, built a picture in his mind of how everything connected. Slowly, patterns emerged. Carbon dioxide at 14%. Working. His hands moved without stopping. He stripped wires, reconnected circuits, used pieces of his own tool bag to replace damaged parts. The equipment did not want to work with human materials but forced it. He talked to the machines in his head, promised them that this would work, begged them to just hold together a little longer. The second hour brought a new problem. The backup power had failed completely. Had to reroute power from the station's secondary systems, stealing electricity from lights and doors and non-essential equipment. The tunnels went completely dark. He worked by touch alone, feeling his way through the repairs. "We lost contact with Section 7. Thinks the whole system is failing." "I am almost there. 5 more minutes." "We may not have 5 minutes." Did not answer. He made the last connection, twisted the final wire and pressed the restart button. Nothing happened. His heart stopped. All that work, all that time, and nothing. A low hum filled the tunnel, then another. The lights flickered on. The air vents coughed once and then began to blow, pushing fresh oxygen through the system. His voice was rough with emotion. "It is working. Carbon dioxide is dropping." Relief flooded through his body, making his legs weak. But he could not stop yet. "The other sections still need repair. I am moving to Section 7. "Wait, you have been working for over 30 hours. You need rest." Had not realized so much time had passed. His body suddenly reminded him of every missed meal, every hour without sleep. His hands were shaking, his vision blurred at the edges. After Section 7, he said. He crawled through more tunnels, found more damage, made more repairs. His memories of those hours came in fragments later. The feel of wires in his bleeding hands, the taste of recycled air, the distant sound of voices through the communication device, guiding him, encouraging him, telling him that he was doing well. At some point, he finished. He did not remember finishing. He only remembered crawling out of the last maintenance tunnel and finding himself in a common area, surrounded by warm lights and concerned amber eyes. His legs gave out. He sat down heavily on the floor, too tired to find a proper chair. The room spun around him. "Get him water," someone said. "Get blankets." Hands touched him, gentle despite their claws. Someone pressed a cup to his lips. Cool water ran down his throat, the most delicious thing he had ever tasted. "Rest now," his voice said, very close. "You saved us, human, rest." Tried to answer, but darkness pulled him under before the words could form. He woke to warmth. For a moment he did not understand. His body was surrounded by soft heat, pressing close on all sides. Something moved against his back, slow and rhythmic. Someone was breathing near his ear. Opened his eyes. He was lying on a pile of cushions in the common area. Around him, curled close in a protective circle, the entire pack was sleeping. Silver fur, brown fur, copper fur, gold fur. Of all ages pressed together and somehow was at the center, covered in their shared warmth. Was curled against his side, her tail wrapped around his arm. Her small body rose and fell with each breath. His throat tightened. He did not know how he had gotten here. He did not know when the pack had surrounded him, but he understood what it meant. In culture, the sleeping pile was sacred. Only family, only pack slept together this way. They had accepted him. He should get up. He should return to his quarters on the outer ring, to his simple room with its view of cold stars. That was where he belonged. That was what he had wanted. But made a small sound in her sleep and pressed closer to his warmth. One of her ears twitched, and her tail tightened around his arm. Closed his eyes. Just this once, he thought. Just this once he would let himself belong. He slept better than he had in years. 1 year passed on Orbital Station 7, and Park slowly became a different person. It happened in small moments. A meal shared at the long table instead of eaten alone in his room. A greeting returned with a smile instead of a nod. A hand raised to wave at when she bounced through the corridors, no longer hiding her excitement at seeing him. The pack moved his belongings to new quarters near their communal den, made the decision without asking, and found his things already arranged when he returned from a repair shift. The new room was smaller, but through the wall he could hear the sounds of the pack settling down for sleep. Voices murmuring, pups laughing, the low songs that sang when they were content. The first time heard those songs, he lay awake for hours listening. Learning to live with the pack meant learning their ways, discovered that touched each other constantly. A brush of fingers when passing, a hand on the shoulder during conversation. Bodies pressed close during meals, even when there was plenty of room at the table. In the beginning, every touch made him tense. His body remembered pain. His skin expected hurt. But hands were gentle. Their claws never scratched unless they meant to scratch. Slowly, learned to accept the touches without flinching. Then he learned to expect them. Then, finally, he learned to miss them when they were not there. The hardest lesson was grooming. Groomed each other as a sign of trust and love. They combed through each other's fur with careful claws, removing tangles, smoothing rough patches, checking for injuries or illness. Had no fur, but he had hair and was determined to groom it. "Your hair is a mess," she announced one evening, standing behind his chair with her hands on her hips. "It goes in all directions. How do you live like this?" "I brush it sometimes," said. "Sometimes is not enough. Sit still." Her claws were surprisingly delicate. She separated the strands of his hair carefully, working through knots with patience he had not expected from someone so young. The sensation was strange at first. Then it was calming. Then it was something looked forward to, though he would never admit this out loud. "Your hair is very dark," said as she worked. "Like the space between stars, but when the light hits it I see colors, brown and red hidden underneath." "Human hair does that," said. "It is not as simple as it looks." "Nothing about you is simple," agreed. "That is why you are interesting." The pack celebrated many festivals throughout the year. Festivals for the changing seasons, though there were no seasons in space. Festivals for the birth of new pups, for successful hunts, for the memory of ancestors. Attended them all, standing quietly at the edge of the crowd at first, then gradually moving closer to the center. When his own birthday came, he mentioned it once briefly, not expecting anything. The next day the pack threw him a party. There was special food and singing and small gifts wrapped in colorful cloth. Was overwhelmed. He thanked them and thought that was the end. The day after they threw him another party. "Birthdays are important," explained. "One celebration is not enough." "Humans only celebrate once," said. "That is sad, you deserve more." They threw him 7 parties total, one for each day of the week. By the end, was exhausted and happy and slightly sick from eating too many sweet cakes. He did not correct them. He did not tell them that they had misunderstood. Some mistakes were too beautiful to fix. The true test of his place in the pack came when got sick. It started as a small cough. Did not cough often, and when heard the sound, something cold twisted in his stomach. He found in her sleeping space, curled into a tight ball, her brown fur damp with sweat. "It is just a cold," she said, but her voice was weak. "I will be fine tomorrow." She was not fine tomorrow. The cough grew worse. Her breathing became rough and painful. The pack healer, a quiet female named, examined her with worried eyes. "Tunnel fever," said quietly to N. "The infection spreads to the lungs, in young." She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Sat beside's bed. He did not leave for 3 days. The pack brought him food. They brought him blankets when he fell asleep in the chair. They tried to convince him to rest properly, to let others take shifts watching over her, but refused. Some part of him believed that if he looked away, even for a moment, she might slip away completely. He talked to her during the long hours. He told her stories from Earth, old tales about clever foxes and loyal dogs and children who found magic in ordinary places. When his voice grew tired, he read from his tablet, choosing books he thought she might like. Adventure stories, mysteries, stories about brave heroes who faced impossible odds and won. "You are a brave hero," whispered one night, her eyes half closed with fever. "You saved the station." "That was just fixing machines. This is harder." "Why is it harder?" Did not answer for a long moment. His hand rested on the blanket near hers, close enough to feel her warmth. "Because machines cannot break my heart," he finally said. On the 4th day, fever broke. She opened her eyes clear and bright and asked for food. The pack erupted in celebration, checked her again and declared that the worst had passed. Later, when was sleeping peacefully, found standing alone in the corridor. He was staring out a window at the stars, his face impossible to read. "She will recover fully," told him. "I know," you said. "Rarely survive tunnel fever when they are alone." Amber eyes were soft. "The body gives up when there is no one to fight for," but was not alone. She had her pack brother watching over her. Turned to look at her. "Pack brother. That is what we call you now. What the pups call you when they speak of you to each other." Tilted her head. "Did you not know? You are family. You have been family for a long time." Something cracked inside's chest. He turned back to the window because he did not want to see his face. "I am not good at family," he said quietly. "I never learned how." None of us knew how at the beginning. We learned from each other, placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. You are learning. That is all any of us can do. 1 month later, raiders attacked a supply convoy near the station. The distress call came during the evening meal. A transport ship, badly damaged, struggling to reach safety. 5 crew members trapped aboard, their life support failing. We need a rescue shuttle, said, but the raiders may still be near. It is dangerous. Stood up from the table, I will go. The pack protested immediately. Humans were too fragile, too precious. Let a pilot take the risk instead. Your pilots are good, said calmly, but I am smaller. I can dock with the damaged ship through the emergency port. A cannot fit. His ears were flat against his skull. If the raiders return, then I will fly fast. He flew fast. He reached the damaged transport, squeezed through the tiny emergency port, and found the survivors huddled in a cargo bay. 2 were badly injured. He carried them one by one back to his shuttle, his muscles screaming with effort. The raiders did not return. Perhaps they had moved on to easier targets. Perhaps they saw his shuttle and decided one small human was not worth the trouble. Brought everyone home safely. He landed the shuttle, handed the injured over to, and walked to his quarters without speaking. His hands shook for 3 days afterward. The pack noticed but did not comment. They simply stayed close, offering their presence without demanding explanations. Brought him warm drinks in the evening, groomed his hair with extra gentleness. The pups drew him pictures of brave shuttle pilots fighting off space pirates. Kept every picture. He put them on his wall where he could see them when he woke. Our began calling him during meetings and meals, not the human, not the engineer, our. The words felt like a gift. They felt like home. For the first time in his life, Park began to believe that home might be something he was allowed to have. The message arrived on a quiet morning, hidden among routine reports and supply requests. Almost missed it. He was eating breakfast with the pack, laughing at a joke one of the older had made when his tablet buzzed with the notification. He glanced at it without much interest. Probably another maintenance request. Maybe a question from command about his quarterly reports. The words on the screen made his blood turn cold. Transfer orders, effective in 14 standard days. A new posting at Station Helios 3 in the Outer Reach, 3 sectors away. His exceptional performance had been noted. His skills were needed elsewhere. Human Command thanked him for his service and expected him to report on schedule. There was no option to refuse. There was no space for questions. The orders were final. Read the message 3 times. Each time the words stayed the same. Each time his chest grew until breathing felt like pushing against a weight. 14 days. Around him, the pack continued their breakfast, was telling a story about something funny that had happened during her lessons. The pups were playing under the table, their small bodies bumping against legs, was discussing supply needs with, their voices a comfortable background noise. None of them knew. None of them could feel the ground cracking beneath his feet. He deleted the message. Then he finished his breakfast, smiled at the right moments, and excused himself for his morning work shift. The walk to Section 4 felt longer than usual. His legs moved automatically while his mind spun in desperate circles. He could petition the transfer. He could ask Command to reconsider, to let him stay, to assign someone else to Helios 3. But he knew how those petitions ended. He had filed them before at other stations when he had found small moments of connection that he did not want to lose. The answer was always the same. Humans were resources to be moved where needed. Personal preferences did not matter. Attachments did not matter. Nothing mattered except the mission. Worked through the morning with numb hands. He replaced a filter. He checked some wiring. He updated maintenance logs. Normal tasks, routine tasks, while inside his chest something was slowly breaking into pieces. He could not tell the pack. That was the one thing he knew for certain. They would not understand. To them, family was forever. Pack bonds were unbreakable. They would fight to keep him, petition every authority, make desperate plans that could not succeed. And when they failed, when the shuttle came to take him away, their pain would be sharp and fresh. They would feel abandoned. They would feel betrayed. Better to leave quietly. Better to slip away before goodbye became a wound that never healed. Began preparing in secret. During rest hours when the pack slept, he packed his bag. It did not take long. A year of living among them and his possessions still fit in one small container. 3 sets of clothes, his work tablet. The metal star had given him on his first week, polished bright from his constant touching. He hesitated over the drawings the pups had made. Pictures of shuttles and stars and a small human figure with black hair surrounded by colorful shapes. He wanted to take them. He wanted to carry some piece of this place with him forever. But taking them felt like theft. Taking them felt like admitting that he mattered here, that leaving would create a hole in the shape of his absence. He left the pictures on the wall. The days passed too quickly. Continued his routines, but everything felt different now. Every meal with the pack became precious. Every joke, every touch, every quiet moment felt like something he was memorizing for later, saving up warmth against the cold future waiting for him. Noticed that something was wrong. "You are sad again," she said one evening, appearing beside him as he stared out a window. "I can smell it, heavier than before." "I am just tired," lied. "You are lying," replied. "Your voice does the thing it does when you lie. It goes flat and far away." Closed his eyes. "You can tell me what is wrong. I am not a pup anymore. I am almost grown." She was almost grown. Somehow, in the year since his arrival, she had gotten taller. Her voice had deepened slightly. She carried herself with more confidence, more grace. In a few more years, she would be a full adult, ready to take her place in the pack as an equal. Would not be there to see it. "Sometimes," he said slowly, "bad things happen that we cannot change, and the best we can do is accept them quietly, without making the people we love hurt more than they have to." Was silent for a long moment. Her ears moved in that way they did when she was thinking hard. "That sounds lonely," she finally said. "It is," admitted. "It is very lonely." That night he wrote letters. One for each member of the pack, on paper he had saved from supply shipments. His handwriting was messy, and his words felt clumsy and inadequate, but he wrote anyway. He thanked them for their kindness. He explained that leaving was not his choice. He asked them not to be angry, not to blame anyone, not to let his absence poison their happiness. The letter, too, was the longest. He told her that she was brave and curious and full of light. He told her that knowing her had changed something inside him, some frozen part that he had thought would never thaw. He told her that wherever he went, he would carry the memory of her first gift, the small metal star that had been his first sign that maybe he was not as alone as he had believed. He did not tell her that writing the letter made his eyes burn. Some things did not need to be said. On his last night, waited until the pack was deep in sleep. He had checked the schedule 3 times. The transport shuttle would arrive at the docking bay in 2 hours. Early morning, when everyone was resting, when the corridors were empty and quiet. He placed the letters in each room, tucked under pillows or left on desks where they would be found. He moved silently, years of practice keeping his footsteps soft. The pack slept in their communal pile, bodies pressed close, breath rising and falling together. Stood in the doorway and watched them for a long moment. Silver fur gleamed in the dim light. His hand rested on the head of a sleeping pup. And there, at the edge of the pile closest to where empty space waited, slept with her tail curled around nothing, reaching for warmth that was not there. Something wet slid down his cheek. He wiped it away roughly. "I am sorry," he whispered, so quiet that no one could hear. "I am so sorry." Then he turned and walked away. The corridors felt endless. Every step took him farther from the warmth of the pack, closer to the cold reality of the life he had lived before. Station Helios 3 would be like 7 had been at the beginning. Strange faces, polite distance, a room on the outer edge, far from everyone, far from everything. He would survive it, he always survived. But survival was not the same as living. He understood that now, too late, when understanding only made the pain sharper. The docking bay doors loomed ahead of him. Through the small window he could see the transport shuttle waiting, its lights blinking in the darkness. 10 more steps, 5 more, 1 more. His hand reached for the door control. Behind him he heard the sound of many footsteps, the click of claws on metal floors, the rustle of fur. Turned around. They were all there. Every member of the pack stood in the corridor behind him, their amber eyes glowing in the dim light. At the front, his silver fur bristling. Beside him, her expression unreadable. The pups clustered around the legs of the adults, suddenly quiet and serious. And standing in the center of them all, holding something wrapped in shimmering cloth. "You thought you could leave without saying goodbye," said. His voice was rough with emotion. "You thought we would let you go alone." Could not speak. His throat had closed up completely. "We found your letters," said. Her voice cracked on the words. "We woke up and you were gone, and we found the letters, and we knew you were trying to protect us." She stepped forward, the wrapped object held out like an offering. "But we do not want to be protected from you. We want to be with you, even if being with you means hurting when you leave." The pack moved closer, surrounding him, blocking the path to the transport. Not with anger, not with accusation, with love so fierce that it filled the entire corridor, pressing against from all sides. "Open it," said, pushing the wrapped object into his hands. "We made it together, all of us. Even the pups helped." His hands were trembling so badly that he could barely unwrap the cloth. Inside was a collar, not the kind humans might imagine, but something different, something sacred. A woven band made of fur, dozens of different colors braided together in an intricate pattern. Silver strands from, copper from, brown from the younger members. And there, running through the center like a thread of midnight dark fur from herself. "Every pack member carries the others with them," said, his voice thick. "This is our fur, given freely, woven by our hands. When you wear it, we are with you, always, no matter how far you travel." Looked down at the collar. Then he looked up at the faces surrounding him. Then his legs stopped working, and he fell to his knees on the cold floor of the docking bay. The tears came. He could not stop them. Years of practice at not feeling, years of walls carefully built, and the pack had torn them all down without even trying. Threw herself at him, wrapping her arms around his neck. The others followed. Bodies pressed close, fur soft against his skin, voices murmuring comfort in his ear. The pack held him while he cried, held him like he was precious, like he was loved, like he was worth holding onto. "I will come back," managed to say between sobs. "I will find a way, I promise." "We know," said, his hand resting heavy on shoulder. "Humans always find a way. It is the most terrifying and beautiful thing about your kind." The transport captain eventually came looking for his missing passenger. He found a human surrounded by aliens, all of them holding onto each other like letting go would mean drowning. He waited. Some moments were too important to interrupt. And when finally walked onto the shuttle, his face wet with tears and his hand pressed against the woven collar around his wrist, he did not look back. He did not need to. His pack was with him. They would always be with him. That was what family meant. The transport shuttle carried Park away from Orbital Station 7, away from the only family he had ever truly known. He sat in the passenger compartment and watched the stars move past the window. The woven collar was warm around his wrist, a constant reminder that somewhere behind him, 14 were already missing him. Station Helios 3 was everything he had expected. Cold, efficient, filled with strangers who nodded politely and kept their distance. His new quarters were on the outer ring, far from the common areas, exactly like his first room on 7. Unpacked his small bag and placed the metal star on his desk. He touched the collar on his wrist and tried to feel his pack through the woven fur. Some nights, when the silence pressed too close, he swore he could hear his voice in his memory, asking him if he was lonely. Yes, he wanted to answer, "Yes, I am." He worked hard at his new posting. He fixed machines. He improved systems. He earned praise from his supervisors and polite respect from his colleagues. But he did not eat in the common area. He did not join conversations. He did not let anyone touch his shoulder or ask about his life. The collar stayed hidden under his sleeve. It was private. It was sacred. It belonged to a version of himself that had no place in this cold new world. 3 months passed, then 6, then a year. Sent messages to 7 whenever he could. Short updates about his work. Questions about the pack. Careful words that hid the depth of his longing. Wrote back long letters filled with stories and drawings and complaints about how boring everything was without him. Sent brief notes about station affairs, always ending with the same phrase, "We wait for you. We wait for you." 4 words that kept his heart beating through the long nights alone. 18 months into his posting, a message arrived from Human Command. Expected another transfer, another station on the edge of nowhere, another year of surviving instead of living. He opened the message with numb resignation. The words made no sense at first. He read them 3 times, then 4, then 5. Special assignment, long-term liaison position, cultural bridge between human and territories, permanent posting requested by Pack Council after extensive petition. Assignment location, orbital station 7. Permanent. Stared at the screen. His hands were shaking, his vision blurred at the edges. At the bottom of the official notice was an attached file, a petition signed by every member of the pack, written in careful letters, requesting that the human known as Park be returned to his family. The document was pages long. It included testimonials from about service during the life support crisis, medical records from documenting his care for during her illness, letters from the pups describing their pack brother who told good stories and never complained when they climbed on him during meals. And there at the very end was a note from. "He belongs with us," she had written. "Please send him home." Left Station Helios 2 weeks later. He did not say goodbye to anyone. There was no one to say goodbye to. The journey back took 3 weeks. Every day felt longer than the one before. Barely slept. He paced the small shuttle, checked his messages, counted the hours until arrival. The collar on his wrist seemed to grow warmer the closer he got, as if the fur itself knew it was returning to its owners. When the shuttle finally docked at 7, his legs would not move. He sat in the passenger compartment and stared at the airlock door. Behind that door was everything he had been missing for 18 months. Behind that door was home. But what if they had changed? What if the pack had grown used to his absence? What if the space where he had belonged had closed up, healed over, no longer needed? The airlock opened. Stood in the corridor. She was taller now, almost as tall as the adults. Her brown fur was glossy and healthy. Her eyes were brighter than he remembered, or maybe that was just the tears gathering in them. "You came back," she said, her voice cracked on the words. "You actually came back." Stood up, his legs were weak. His heart was pounding so hard he could feel it in his throat. "I promised," he said. Moved first. She crossed the airlock in 3 bounds and threw herself at him with enough force to knock him back a step. Her arms wrapped around him. Her face pressed against his shoulder. Her whole body shook with the sobs she was trying to hold back. "I missed you," she cried. "I missed you so much. Everyone missed you. The pups kept asking when you were coming back and pretended he was fine, but he was not fine, and kept your room clean even though you were not there, and I missed you too," said. His voice was rough. His arms held her tight. "Every single day." More footsteps in the corridor. More voices, rising with excitement. The pack poured through the airlock, surrounding him, reaching for him, pulling him into the center of their warmth. Was there, his silver fur streaked with more white than before, his amber eyes wet with emotions he did not try to hide, pressed her forehead against his in the gesture of deepest affection. The pups climbed his legs and demanded to be picked up, all of them talking at once. "Welcome home," ours said. "Welcome home." Home. The word echoed through his chest, filling spaces that had been empty for so long. They walked together to the communal area. The corridors were decorated with colorful banners and streamers. Someone had painted SOOHO on a large sheet of paper in uneven letters, surrounded by drawings of stars and shuttles and figures with one small human in the middle. "We knew you were coming," explained, her hand tight around his. "Command told 3 days ago. We have been preparing." The preparation included food. So much food. Every dish had ever liked during his time on the station, plus several new ones they had invented in his absence. The table was overflowing. The smells were overwhelming. "You do not have to eat all of it tonight," said with a small smile. "But we were not sure what to make. So we made everything," one of the pups added proudly. Sat down at the table, surrounded by his pack. They pressed close on all sides, filling every space, leaving no room for cold or distance. Sat on one side of him, on the other. The pups arranged themselves at his feet. He ate until he could not eat any more. He listened to stories about everything that had happened while he was gone. He laughed at jokes and answered questions and let groom his hair, which had grown too long during his time away. "You will not leave again," said as her claws worked gently through the tangles. It was not a question. "The posting is permanent," confirmed. "I am supposed to help build connections between humans and cultural exchange, understanding." He paused. "But really, I think they just gave up trying to move me. Your petition was very persuasive." "We wrote 17 drafts," admitted. "Insisted on perfect wording." "It was worth it." His voice was fierce. "You are worth it." That night the pack gathered in the communal den for sleep. The cushions were arranged in their familiar pile, bodies finding their comfortable positions. But this time, there was a space in the center, a space exactly the size of a human. Lay down among them. Warm fur pressed against his sides. Small bodies curled near his feet. Settled beside him, her head on his shoulder, her tail wrapped around his arm like it had been waiting for him all this time. "I am home," he whispered into the darkness. "Yes," replied, "you are." Around him the pack began to sing. The low harmonic sounds that had learned to recognize as contentment, as safety, as love made audible. The song wrapped around him, sinking into his bones, washing away the loneliness of 18 months alone. He had spent his whole life believing that home was a place you left behind. A building, a room, a spot on a map. Something temporary, something fragile, something that could be taken away by a message on a screen. He understood now that he had been wrong. Home was not walls or windows or views of stars. Home was arms that held you when you cried. Home was hands that groomed your hair and voices that sang you to sleep. Home was people who refused to let you leave alone, who fought for you when you had given up fighting for yourself. Home was the ones who loved you enough to block your exit and make you stay. Closed his eyes. The singing continued, soft and warm. His breathing slowed beside him as she drifted toward sleep. The collar on his wrist hummed with the presence of his pack, gathered around him, complete again. He was home, finally truly permanently home. And this time, nothing in the universe could take it away.